For a final story, we turn to Kenya, to the Masai Mara. It's one of the world's most famous wildlife reserves. It's a place known for its open plains and the Great Migration. But today, the Masai Mara is making news for a very different reason. A new luxury lodge has opened inside the reserve. It is run by the Ritz-Carlton, the global luxury hotel brand, and it's triggered a row. The location of the hotel has caused a legal fight. A court case in Kenya says the lodge sits on a migration route. It wants the property to be demolished. The case also questions how the project was approved in the first place. It asks why it received an exemption from rules that limit new development in the region. The authorities in fact dispute these claims, but the row has now put the reserve under the spotlight. Here's a report.
You may never have been to Kenya, but you have almost certainly heard of the Masai Mara. It is one of the most famous wildlife reserves in the world. It is part of a larger ecosystem shared with Tanzania's Serengeti. It is the stage of the Great Migration, often called the greatest show in nature. Every year, more than 1 million wildebeest, zebra, and other animals move across these plains. It is a magnet for filmmakers and photographers, and a once-in-a-lifetime destination for travelers. But today, the Masai Mara is facing a new controversy. And at the center of it is a new Ritz-Carlton Safari Lodge. It has opened on the banks of the Sand River. It has 20 luxury tents and peak season rates that can exceed $3,500 per person per night. On paper, it promises high-end tourism in the heart of the migration. But that same promise has triggered resistance, because community groups say the true cost of this development may be far higher. And that concern has now reached the courts. A lawsuit has been filed in Kenya. It argues that the lodge sits on a route used by wildebeest and zebras to cross the Sand River. It says animals have turned back from the new development, and it asks the court to demolish the lodge and restore the land. The lawsuit also questions how the project was approved. It points to a 2023 management plan for the Masai Mara. That plan calls for no new tourism accommodation until 2032. Yet the Ritz-Carlton project received an exemption. And conservationists say this dispute is only one part of a much wider problem. The Masai Mara covers about 580 square miles, and they warn that pressure on the reserve is rising every year. During the peak migration months, the strain is hard to miss. Safari vehicles crowd every major river crossing, and they disrupt the very wildlife spectacle that draws travelers here. Researchers say the number of camps and lodges in the Masai Mara has surged. They list a rise from 95 in 2012 to 175 last year. Many of them sit along rivers, and riverbanks are the places where migrating herds try to cross. But the developers and the authorities reject that criticism. They say the Ritz-Carlton Lodge is not inside a core migration route. They cite an environmental audit, saying the nearest major wildebeest crossing is several miles away. They say all required approvals were obtained and that it would get economic benefits. Court documents reportedly estimate $25 million in tax revenue over 6 years. The documents also show it will support local communities, including Maasai workers, and that is what makes this dispute so complex. Kenya depends on tourism. It needs investment, it wants high-value visitors, and global brands help drive that demand. But Kenya also needs the migration to survive. It needs open corridors for wildlife and the ecosystem to stay healthy. it also needs the Maasai people to feel protected on their ancestral land. So, two priorities, both essential. Both are competing for the same space. A court will reportedly hear the case in December. Its ruling will decide the fate of one lodge. But the larger question remains. What kind of Masai Mara will Kenya allow in the years ahead?
Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of Kipao Media. I'm your host, Douglas Ibole. We've all seen the videos coming out of the Masai Mara. We've all seen the controversy that is going on there. There's been a lot of reporting. There's been a lot of posts that people have talked about the Masai Mara. And if you don't know what is going on, you can look on social media and see that there is a hotel that is being constructed in the Masai Mara, and that's the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. And it's located on the path that actually the wildebeest actually take when they're migrating from Kenya to the Serengeti in Tanzania, and obviously when they're coming back. So these are routes that these animals normally take, and they're passed on from generation to generation. And these are the routes that they use in order to survive and be able to get to the other side and breed. And when the weather changes, they can be able to come back on this other side in Kenya. But what did we see? We saw that the government of Kenya allowed a hotel to be constructed right there where the migration is happening. So what does this tell you? Well, this tells you clear and simple that there is a lot of corruption going on in the government, because as much as tourism is a big honor for the country, there is no concern in terms of how to preserve this natural wildlife, which is an attraction. And not only an attraction, this is a natural phenomenon that is nowhere in the whole world. You would expect a government that knows that they have wildlife that is nowhere in the whole world to take care of it, preserve it, conserve it, and make sure that rules and regulations are followed. But what do we have? We have greed. We have corruption. And when that takes root in a country, this is what happens. This is a clear disappointment. This is a clear violation of the laws of the country. And this is a clear violation of conservancy laws that allow that the animals need to be protected. So what is really going on in the Masai Mara? If we may ask, what is really going on? Because how do we have a hotel being granted a license to build a hotel right where the migration is happening? We need to ask these questions, and we need to really be serious about these issues. Because what we're seeing is that we're seeing that our country is selling out. We're seeing leaders that are selling out the country. For whatever they're being paid, they're selling out the country, and they're not looking towards the future. And this has been a very big issue with leadership in Kenya. There is no vision. They lack vision. I really don't understand what is going on with this generation of leaders, especially the baby boomers and the leaders who came after independence, but they have a serious mental issue. And the mental issue, I don't know how we're going to solve it. A lot of it is built on a lot of animosity and tribalism, and a lot of greed, and this feeling of I need to take as much as possible, hold as much as possible, because I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. This is the mentality that this generation has. And this is the generation that has been spreading that mentality to the young people and actually showing us that this is how they operate and this is how they move. And I think the young people are done with this kind of attitude. The young Kenyans are saying we need a different kind of leadership. We need different kind of examples. We need to be united as a people. We need to focus on development that is going to benefit each and every Kenyan, wherever they may be or wherever they may decide to locate in the country. There is development going on everywhere. But this older generation has destroyed this country. The older generation is still glued on tribalism, is still glued on greed, is still glued on corruption and settling scores. They've been settling scores since 1963, since independence. They've been settling scores. Oh, you did this to my father, you did this to my brother, you did this to my cousin, you did this to my tribe, you did this to my party. And they're always settling scores. And this has led to the destruction of the country. And they have no vision. There is no vision, visionary leadership in Kenya right now, even in the government that is in place. There has never been visionary leaders who have actually tried to show us where we need to be. And those visionary leaders that we had who tried to show us where to be, they assassinated them. And some of them have not been given an opportunity to lead the country or be given an opportunity to be in positions where they can influence their ideas and they can be able to actually lead the country to a better place. So we have a serious problem. So this Masai Mara, first of all, it shows me that there is poor leadership in the country because a country is supposed to protect its assets, a country is supposed to protect its interests, and a country is supposed to actually have rules and regulations on how to govern its assets and its valuable assets and be able to regulate all these things. But they are selling out everything. They are getting instructions from whatever, they are getting funded from whatever, they are getting paid from whatever, and they are selling out the future of Kenyans as we know it. And they're selling out as we see it. And these are people that are supposed to actually protect all these things that are important to the country in terms of revenue collection, in terms of tourist attraction, in terms of just nature itself. We don't even need tourists. We just need to preserve what God gave us and enjoy what God gave us. But they can't do that. They want to auction everything. My message to Kenyans is we need to be vigilant. We need to be as vigilant as possible. These are very trying times. We cannot afford to be distracted by anything. We need to focus on how we can build this country, how we can be united as one country, how we can be together to have a visionary leadership or to have a vision on how we can be able to guide our people as one to achieve all the development goals that we need to achieve in order to sustain a development or to sustain an environment whereby development goes all over the country and everyone can enjoy the fruits of being a citizen of Kenya. This is a very important point. And also, we need to be able to regulate any investment that comes into the country. That investment has to be scrutinized. Is it beneficiary to the country? Is it adding value? What are the terms and conditions? All these things have to be scrutinized in order to make sure that this is a kind of a foreign investment that is going to be beneficial to the country and also improve the quality of living of our people. And this we have seen in through other videos whereby you see foreign investors coming to the country and abusing our workers, abusing our Kenyans who are working for them, getting violent at the workplace. These are things that need to be controlled and regulated by the government. All Kenyans deserve security, respect, and honor. No foreign investment should be allowed to come into the country and abuse our citizens. There should be sanctions and there should be repercussions that are serious and immediate for anyone who tries to do that. Because as Kenyans, we are all taxpayers and we deserve protection and security from the national government, and we have rights which are protected by the Constitution. So, as regards to this Masai Mara issue, we've seen the videos, very demoralizing, and we need to keep this fight. We need to fight this and we need to protect this. Whoever is out there in the courts fighting this, we need to support them so that we can protect the whole Masai Mara and we can protect the animals and their habitat and their migration routes. Let's not get so disenfranchised and so insensitive that we leave the corporate people to actually exploit these opportunities and actually greed to take over. We have to fight this. This is a natural blessing from God, and we have to take care of it. And we have to do the best that we can to make sure that we run our institutions and we run our government to benefit the people and as well as bring development and protect the people. This is Kipao Media. I'm your host, Douglas Obore. Until we meet again, Smokey.